Uh-oh.
It's time for the Early Bird Special. Bringing you the best stories from the world of sports and sports entertainment. Now, here are your hosts, Sparky and Burdick.
Well, good morning, Bakersfield and surrounding communities and everybody watching online on YouTube. This is the Early Bird Special. I am Chris Burdick. That is Sparky. Sparky, good morning, my friend.
Top of the morning to you.
Top of the morning. Let them know what they're in for.
Oh, we got a jam-packed show today. Not only will we recap the upsets of last night, but we've got our buddy Hop coming in at 7:30. We'll recap Thunderbolts, and I'm going to sprinkle in some Invincible. I don't know if you finished that last season, but I did. It only took me a couple weeks, but
I'm just gonna leave that at the door. I'm not gonna just. I'm proud of you. I'm glad you finished it.
We'll talk Invincible and Thunderbolts, and at the top of the hour, we got our boy Anthony from the Well coming in to talk about the pregame show and all the upcoming shows. I know they got Chris Rock's brother coming in next weekend, a few other shows coming up at the Well, and then we'll get into Steph Curry's injury. We've got all sorts of miscellaneous news. What the hell is going on with Byron Scott? And some miscellaneous NFL news, and then we'll wrap up the show. So text or call in anytime, 661-842-2000. Plus, we are streaming, like you said, on the Early Bird Special YouTube channel. Plus, you can find us on Instagram, Facebook, even TikTok.
Yes, we are on TikTok. I've been slacking on the reels, though. I apologize on that. We will get a couple more out there here pretty soon, but we have a lot to talk about again in the world of the NBA because this is really the most entertaining playoff run I've seen in quite some time. Probably the only entertaining thing to watch on television right now, if I'm being honest. Excuse me. And it's all started with the Knicks pulling off another 20-point comeback in the fourth quarter against the Celtics, winning 91-90 on a key defensive play from Mikal Bridges for a second game in a row. This has been an incredible series.
It was a hell of a game. And where's Tatum?
I mean, again, he is playing. I can't necessarily blame this on Tatum. I don't know exactly where the issue is with the Celtics outside of
why are they shooting so damn. So, I mean, if the threes ain't landing, then play basketball.
Right. And that is the long and short of what I feel is the losing part of this entire formula for the Celtics. When you live and die by the three, the three doesn't always fall to you. And granted, most of the time, especially for this team, it does. But another 10 for 40 game from three for the Celtics. I mean,
that makes them 25 for 100 in the first two games of this series.
Jason Tatum is really being physical on the rebounding side of the game, which is great. He's got double digits the last two games, but I agree with you. Last night he had 13 points. You need more from your star there.
When you're shooting 5 for 19,
yeah,
you drive. You get your.
However,
get under your legs.
It is. I think it's a testament to OG and Mikal Bridges' defense. Because if you really look at what those two have been able to do on Tatum and Brown through these first two games and disrupt everything that they're doing, and they've taken notes from what they learned from the series one for the Celtics against the Magic, because the Magic did a really good job at this too. They just couldn't really, what's the word I'm looking for? Just they couldn't pull it off. They didn't have the offensive firepower to pull it off.
When you're up 20, I mean, just play basketball.
Right.
I don't understand it. Again, I mean,
time management also goes into this too.
Coaching young kids when I was younger, and I would teach them, play the fundamentals, man. Don't force the shots. And that's what they were doing. And yes, I'll give credit to where it's due is the New York defense. But when you're playing a Tibbs team, that's what you're going to play against.
Right.
So it's nothing that just surprised they're playing defense. I mean, I know a lot of other teams don't play defense, but I mean, they're digging a hole that I know it's only 2 games, but I think if they go down 3, it's over.
Well, I mean, obviously with the 4 or 7 game series, but this isn't just 2 games to me. Like, it's much like the Cleveland series. They're in trouble. You are going to a place that is increasingly hard to win at. And if they have a possibility to sweep you, they're going to sweep you.
I just don't see it, man. I don't see them sweeping. I mean, they had the games, both 1 and 2, they were up by 20,
Doesn't
and they
matter.
just get lazy and start shooting stupid shots, not running any offense, and that's what's killing them.
Right. But Coach Tibbs himself has said it, dude. Like, it doesn't matter what happens in these games anymore. You could be up by 12, 13, 14, and your lead could be gone in about 2 minutes because of how many threes get shot at a high rate in the league today. And it's just another testament to that. If you could play defense, if you can make it really difficult to pass the ball and make these guys take these terrible shots, like a Derek White taking those awful threes at the end of this game, you're going to have a really good chance to pull this off.
And when they had more than 8 minutes and not scoring,
Right.
like, geez Louise, man.
And when Karl Anthony Towns actually gets to play like a big man, or plays like a big man, I should say. I shouldn't say actually gets to.
Yeah, he looked good last night.
He's just making him look silly with Porzingis on the bench. He really is.
And this is what Canty had to say after the game.
You know what it's like? It's like the Atlanta Falcons in 2016 in Super Bowl 51 blowing a 28-3 lead and doing that twice. That's exactly what it is.
That's a good point.
In a matter of days. I mean, Ev, you talked about it. The Boston Celtics missed 13 straight shots in the fourth quarter. 7 of those were threes, and they weren't all bad looks. Some of those were wide open, and they just missed them. Now, when it comes to what their offense looked like, it's clear that there was a departure from what we saw in the first 3 quarters that allowed them to build up that 20-point lead, and that's why I have to attach the choke moniker to him.
I've seen that a lot lately, especially on Jason, calling him a choke artist. I wouldn't go that far. Now, if they lose this series embarrassingly, yeah, you could definitely put that on them. But I don't necessarily think I wouldn't call him choke artist just yet.
Well, I mean, I'm
It is
just
pretty
surprised.
embarrassing, though.
When I got home, it was halftime, and I was like, okay, this is getting out of control.
Yep.
But I told him at the end of the third, I was like, all right, just get it down to 9, get it to single digits, and this is going to be a game. And sure enough, they were down by 9 going into the fourth. I'm like, okay, this is going to be a game.
Usually when I see it is when you can hang around 10 points. If you're getting beat, but you're only down by 10 throughout maybe like a quarter or so, it may fluctuate up to 14, maybe down to 6. But if it's somewhere around that area, usually you're in a pretty good spot to make a comeback happen.
Well, this is Jaylen Brown talking about how the Knicks came back.
I'm not sure. We've gotten to great starts. We guarded, we played physical with energy today. To start the fourth quarter, I thought we got like 4 or 5 great looks in a row that didn't go in. And maybe that affected us. You know, what's done is done. Now we got an opportunity to see what we made of and, come out and try to make something happen game 3.
This is going to be interesting going to the Garden because, again, much like Cleveland headed to Indianapolis, I don't know how much you're going to be able to pull off in the Garden. But I did see a good point that was brought up to me, at least. I'm sorry. I know I'm going back and forth.
No.
Everybody plays their best in the Garden.
Yeah.
So maybe that's a good sign for the Celtics. But
I mean, it's not a pushover, of course. I mean,
No.
Houston got a game out in Madison Square Garden, but the thing is the Knicks, I mean, I know they've done it back to back, but they've got to play 4 quarters.
right.
Don't go down 20 at the Garden and expect this to be a regular thing that they could do.
Well, and also vice versa. Don't go up 20 in the Garden and then do what the Celtics have been doing and sitting on that lead.
And just
You
get
know what I
lazy.
mean? Yeah, get complacent. And honestly, I have not seen Knicks fans this excited or in a long time.
Oh, did you hear them chanting at the end of the game?
Oh, it's getting nuts over there. That's why I'm saying that this might be a really difficult task for Boston to come back at all. I know if you're down 2, like if you lost your first 2 games at home, 85% of the time you lose.
I mean, as a Cavs fan, you're looking at the same thing.
Yep. That's why I know that number. Because again, you're facing the same situation as Cleveland now. And 85% of the time, the entire series, you lose. There's only been one instance really in which a 3-1 has turned around for some teams. It does not happen often. And I don't know if it's going to happen for either Boston or Cleveland, to be honest.
So I'm going to go to a funny clip. This is coming from longtime Celtics, Paul Pierce before game 2.
If the Celtics lose game 2 at home, I promise you, I'm walking here tomorrow.
I'm walking here. I'm walking here 15 miles. I'm walking here in my robe. No shoes on. Bare feet. If the Celtics lose tonight, you got a better chance at walking out of the studio and seeing a dinosaur.
Well, he built that, and now he posted this morning on his Instagram that he was getting ready. He's got his robe. He's got the map quest or his directions, and it's
I respect
8-hour walk.
I respect stepping up to your word like that, but please wear shoes. At least wear shoes on me. 8 hour, I shouldn't say 8-hour walk. I don't know how far this is going to be.
It's like an 8.5 hour.
Is it really? I thought that was a joke. I saw a video this morning. I thought that was a complete joke.
Nope.
If it's an 8.5 hour walk, you better have shoes on at least.
Yes.
And I mean, I guess we'll see you on the show tomorrow. You ain't getting on today.
Yeah.
But we'll keep an eye out for Paul Pierce and have a Paul watch and see how far he gets by the end of our show. That's incredible. I can't believe he's actually doing it.
Well, game 2 was I would say uneventful, but it was what we expected. I mean, OKC came back, and when I turned it on, I was getting ready and do all that. So I put it on in the third quarter, just in time to see Joker to get fouled out. And I'm like, wow, this is not a good game.
No, the Thunder he's obviously referring to the second game of the night, which was the Thunder against the Nuggets. And this one got ugly very, very quickly. The Thunder broke a record for points and a half in a playoff game in NBA history, not just team history.
87 points.
Now, mind you, I watched Cleveland do this when they broke the record the first time with 84, 85, something like that in 2017, I think. It was pretty impressive. This was a murder. This was a absolute slaughterhouse from the word go, and it wasn't pretty. You know what was funny about it was I'm listening to Grant Hill and Eagle talk about it while they're commentating the game, and they made a very good point. That was an 87-point run. For those of you who don't understand what a run is in basketball, basically a run is when a team goes on an incredible stretch where they either don't miss a basket or can continuously make a basket while stopping the other team from doing so as well. And in saying that means that they literally never stopped. They dang near made every shot in the first half. And it just shows to what everybody keeps saying and calling them out for being too young. They are clearly taking that to heart. And this was a shot not only at the Nuggets for winning game 1 and saying we're not going to back down from you, but this is a shot to everybody who's doubted them, saying that they're too young to turn around from this.
I mean, the Thunder finished with 8 guys in double digits. I mean, it was just a beatdown. Even Denver interim coach David Adelman said we got punked, and we got SGA after the game and his message to the team.
We all want to win really badly, but at the end of the day, it's still just a game. It still is a game that we all started just having fun with, and it's taken us across the world. And I try to remind myself that and remind the team that no matter what happens, go out there, have fun, and give it your all and see where it takes you. And then from there, the chips fall where they are. And we did that tonight. We came out, we played free, we played aggressive, and the chips fell in our favor. But yeah, and we're also at our best when we play free and play confident. Trying to get back to that as much as possible.
And one of my favorite clips of him is you can win by 100 or win by 2.
Yep.
Either way, it's one game.
Yeah.
We're tied up at 1-1. And that's the most important thing for my team to know.
Absolutely. But this is a major momentum swing for them as well, because SGA only missed 2 shots the entire game.
It's 11 for 13.
That is incredible. He had, I believe, 6 or 7 of his assists in the first half. He only had 8 in the entire game, unfortunately, but they pulled him in the third quarter. I mean, none of the starters played more than 30 minutes, and they ran a former championship team out of the gym. It is pretty impressive. I'm not going to lie. But this also, again, as I've stated from the beginning of the playoffs, shows why I fear for the Nuggets, because of your inconsistencies. And yes, your ceilings are equally as high as every team left in the NBA or in the NBA playoffs, but your floor is drastically lower. I mean, drastically lower. And we saw it in game 2, genuinely. Like, it was just exploited to the highest degree. It was really ugly.
Well, we'll take a break. We'll come back and we'll preview today's game, talk about an update from Steph Curry's injury, plus much more. Plus, we get Hop coming in at 7:30 to talk a little movie talk right here. The Early Bird Special, ESPN Bakersfield, 12:30 a.m.
101.1 FM. Never in my life have I missed that thing. And honestly, I'm coming back. My first rock concert after this is going to be glorious. Welcome back to the Early Bird Special. I'm Chris Burdick. That is Sparky.
Only one game tonight.
Only one. You get the Minnesota Timberwolves taking on the Golden State Warriors. Minnesota currently sits at a 10.5-point favorite, says ESPN bets. That's a little steep.
What
for
is
me.
it?
10.5. I'm not yeah. You can go to ESPN bets right now. 10.5-point favorite are the Minnesota Timberwolves right now.
I'll take that.
I would too, especially after losing game 1. However, I believe that Vegas and ESPN bets believe that Anthony Edwards is going to be bouncing back and making a statement in this game. It's entirely possible. But I mean, it's really going to take that for the Timberwolves to turn this series around, in my opinion. And as I said yesterday and used the bite from back a couple years ago in 2023 for his comments about the Golden State Warriors and how they made him feel, that Coach Fitch was right in his way of calling him out, and honestly was probably doing the best thing for his team, because that's how you get the best out of somebody like Ant, is you call him out for his poor play, and then he comes back in game 2 and says, "Oh, really? You think I suck? You think I'm not the guy? Well, I'm going to prove you wrong." And I think that's exactly the way, or the mindset, he's going to come with tonight.
Well, since we talked Ant and you brought it up, let's hear from Ant after Coach called him out.
Coach was saying that he relies on you to set the tone from the start, and he didn't quite see that. Do you feel like you were off at all just in that department, or just kind of the way you started the game?
Nah. I feel like I played great defense. I just couldn't do nothing on offense. So
again, it is his mindset. That's why I feel like it may not have landed the way you wanted to, though, because when Coach Kerr and Kevin and all of them worked out with him during the Olympics and made him feel like he wasn't working hard enough, it kind of worked. So I'm hoping that he comes out with a more of a at least aggressive offensive mindset tonight to potentially take or at least even the series against the Warriors. But it's going to take a lot for them to really make a statement. And they could really make a big statement tonight, just like the Thunder did yesterday.
I think that's what's coming. And, I don't think it'll be a blowout, but I mean, I wasn't expecting the OKC to come out and win by 40 plus last night.
Nobody was.
But I was going to bounce this off you, because I know we talked about this a week or so ago about Ant being, the guy that people will be the face of the league,
right,
after Curry and after LeBron. And, obviously I think it's pretty much in our face. That's the guy. But Jonathan Zaslow had this to say.
We got to slow down a little bit on the Anthony Edwards is already in the Hall of Fame stuff. Anthony Edwards guaranteed to be the next big thing. He's going to win multiple championships. I got to slow down with all the Anthony Edwards stuff, because you're right. Every time we've had this conversation, it's like, all right, expecting him to take that next step. Instead, he took a step backwards. And, here we are, where his coach, Chris Finch, after the game is not necessarily pleased with the way that he led tonight.
So I was going to bounce this off you. I know it's only one game. So they're only down a game. And I mean, we talked, there was a topic that came up is did Ant have to get by, Golden State to kind of justify him being the face of the NBA?
I mean, again, I don't think he necessarily has to. I think it helps the legacy. Honestly, he is the next face of the NBA, in my opinion, because who's going to take it from him? I mean, Jokic is not young. We have to remember that. Jokic is not necessarily right around the corner from retirement, but God only knows how many years he has left in the league. Ant is a young face along with SGA. I think the two of them are going to be the biggest faces of the NBA going forward. I don't think they want it to be Ja anymore.
No, of course not.
I don't think they want Ja as the face.
They might be forced with it.
I mean, the internet and everybody even have been talking about it. There's never been an NBA player more synonymous with a gun than Ja Morant. Do you really want that to be your face? Especially in a league where we just got past the entire stereotype that all of these guys are thugs playing basketball.
And then he just comes up.
Exactly. And that's why it's so damning and damaging to their face and brand. That's why they don't want him. And they probably will never use him ever, because he's just so connected to all of that.
What about Luka?
I think Luka would be a fun one to have, but it is not necessarily, I don't know. I think with everything going on with his career right now and how he's being seen and portrayed, it's hard to justify it. You know what I mean? Especially the laziness, the lack of defense, et cetera, et cetera. It's just really weird.
Sorry, Hop.
I know. He broke my concentration too. I'm just glad I didn't do what I did earlier.
But we can get into it. We still got 4 or 5 minutes. So when it comes to Steph Curry, he left in the first half, and I pulled stupid Hop. Shams with the Steph Curry update.
Stephen Curry has been diagnosed with a grade 1 left hamstring strain. I'm told he is expected to miss at least a minimum of 1 week. So he's going to be out games 2 through 4 in this Warriors-Minnesota Timberwolves series. And this is the first time, Malika, that Stephen Curry has a muscle strain in his 16-year NBA career. He's missed 245 games over 16 years, but this is the first time with a muscle strain. So he's never been through a rehab quite like this. And as Steve Kerr said last night, hamstrings are tricky. This is something they're going to have to be very careful of. He did avoid a grade 2 or grade 3 strain, but this is now going to be several games here that they're going to be playing without Stephen Curry. So Jimmy Butler, Draymond Green, Buddy Hield, they're all going to have another, really more burden on them. And they're 12 days away from game 6, where you could look at as a possible window for Stephen Curry.
Curry's at least out for games 2, 3, and 4. Maybe game 5. He might come back game 5.
So I know they've got Butler. I know that wasn't the plan, is, if Curry goes down, we've got Butler. But Butler's proven in the past.
Make it work.
I mean, he's done it with weaker teams, I would say.
Yeah.
But he's also going to need not only Hield, but what do you think about Draymond?
Draymond's not going to get you the offensive firepower you need, although he can go on streaks sometimes. So maybe you get 20 out of him. I could see that. I think you need to lean more on the young guys, the Moody's and the Pajimskis and your Kumingas and all those type of players. Like, I think it's time for one of them, if not all of them, to step up and contribute to the offense, because this is really what you've been preparing them for, right? Like, most of these guys have been on the team for a couple years now, Kuminga, and he has really, or I shouldn't say just he, all of them really have shown that they could at least start and produce in the offense throughout the season. So, I would say lean on that more than I would lean on Draymond, and get out in transition. Make them run. That's going to be a big key, I think. I think you need to lean on that kind of a game, much like the Pacers do. If they miss a basket, you're running. You're getting moving. And I know that's hard to ask at the end of the season, especially if you don't prepare to play that way all the time. But I think that's just the easiest way for them to make points and produce enough to beat the Timberwolves again.
And this is what Steve Kerr thinks.
We think we have the best defense in the league, and that's been proven over the last couple of months. It's based on defensive efficiency, but also based on our confidence and Draymond behind the play and Jimmy, and we can rely on our defense, and we have to generate offense, off of our D, and then we got to figure out different ways to attack without Steph.
It's 100% true. Again, we've said it on the show multiple times, the number one defense since acquiring Jimmy Butler in the NBA. So that's what got them here too. And again, that I feel like is part of what I meant by getting out in transition, make things happen, continue to get steals and just tip balls and the long rebounds and stuff like that, and make stuff happen.
Don't let Ant take over.
Exactly. It's slow. Yeah, that's going to be a big one. You have to slow Ant down and keep him slowed down.
Oh, because he's going to come in with a chip on his shoulder. My question is, to wrap this up on a fun side, who's Batman?
Who's Batman? Who's Robin?
And who's Robin?
Well, Steph is forever Batman. But at this point right now, I think you need Jimmy to be Batman. I think I know Buddy is a great shooter and can produce offensively, but Jimmy produces for you on all sides of the game, including facilitating. So I think Jimmy needs to be Batman.
So you think, well, first of all, who do you think wins tonight?
This is the series that I really have no clue. Every time I look at the game, I have no clue. Whether it's not going to be 10.5 points. I can promise you that. But if all things go the way I think they should, I'm going to say that the Timberwolves even things up tonight.
Yeah, I think they'll pull it out, but a close one, like you said, under 10. But going back to the Batman, this was a banter between Buckets
and Buddy Hield.
No, I'll start out. No. I'm Batman today. I saved the day. He's still Robin.
All right. Well, I'm still Robin, yes. And Steph's still Batman. And Buttered is still who he is.
I mean, Buttered.
But you had another good game, man. Except for that stupid thing you did at the beginning of the game when you have on the right shorts. It's not real Robin and or Batman like.
Well, that wraps up perfectly, because we got Hop coming in after this break to talk a little superheroes. right here at the Early Bird Special, ESPN Bakersfield, 12:30 a.m.
101.1 FM. this?
Hey. Yeah. Plus, everything's connected to Disney.
Actually, welcome to the early bird special. I am Chris Burdick. Welcome back to the I'm Chris Burdick. That's Sparky. We have another special guest in the building with us.
Hopsta.
Hop is in the building, former producer for the Greg Kerr Show, and
Ask Mr. KRN.
Yes, and massive comic
Nerd
book and
World Report. That's Nerd World Report to you.
Nerd World Report.
Geekator.
Geekator. Good Lord.
Geekator.
I think he gets along with me pretty well on a daily basis, or at least tolerates me.
There's a different stages of nerds.
True.
I'm a nerd in a different category,
Yeah,
I would
this is
say.
very true.
But Thunderbolts. Let's start with Thunderbolts because I know we have plenty to talk about. That's why we're going to skip the next break. So I went and saw it the first day. I know Burdick hasn't seen it yet, but he knows the gist of it. What'd you think?
Oh, you're talking to me?
Well, you're the only other person that saw it.
I loved it. I really loved it. I thought it was great. One of the things that I really that carries the weight of the movie are Florence Pugh and David Harbour, who are repeating their roles, obviously from Black Widow, and then Florence Pugh was also in the Hawkeye series as the same character, Yelena, which is now the new Black Widow, and they're terrific. They have great chemistry together as daughter and father. You know, they're
awesome.
Their dialogue is great. They're on top of each other. They were really good in Black Widow, I thought.
That's still one of my favorites.
Black Widow is a movie that's really grown on me as a good Marvel movie. People
really
dismissed it really easily at first, and if you go back and watch it, it's a really good setup movie to everything that's happening in the MCU right now, especially with the Thunderbolts and everything that's going to be carrying forward. And Julia Louis-Dreyfus's character of Valania, or whatever her name is, who's the real sort of quasi-evil, quasi-sort of good anti-hero
Amanda
boss.
Waller-esque.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's going to be really, really cool to see that. But
I always forget about her, and I always, it's the chick from Seinfeld. Every time I see her, I'm like, I forgot she's in this.
She has been in probably about 3 or 4 or 5 post-credit scenes in some of these MCUs because she's becoming a much more developed character. And I'm glad they didn't get rid of her at the end of Thunderbolts. That's not a big spoiler, but it could have been. It seems like they always backhand the villains into, obscurity.
Oblivion.
Yeah, and then they don't do anything more with them, but she's going to continue on, and I like that.
Yeah, I would watch anything with Florence Pugh, but this one was my favorite. I mean, obviously Black Widow was like the introduction with her, and I'll second that because her and Red Guardian are perfect
David
together.
Harbour, yeah.
And I mean, he wasn't in the movie a lot as what I was expecting more of. The character to be in it.
Is outside of like that Santa Claus movie he did a couple years ago where he was
also had a big role in the Equalizer, the first Equalizer movie.
Did he really?
David Harbour, yeah, he was he helped the Russian spy that came over to go after the Equalizer, helped him out. Yeah.
So is he Russian in real life?
And plus Stranger Things, and
because
all that.
I know ever since that Stranger Things, how he's pawned off in all these Russian characters, and he's got that down.
Yeah, he's got it down. He really does.
I don't think he's actually Russian. I don't believe he may be maybe lineage wise, but I was just actually about to bring that up because he does an amazing job with a lot of these up and coming female actresses. I mean, you brought up Stranger Things already, and he plays that father figure perfectly in almost every single one of these, especially the badass father that just has gone through some stuff.
I only saw the first season of Stranger Things, but he's the one thing that really stood out in that season to me about how good he was.
You need to dive into the rest.
Yeah, if you watch that final season that they did.
Well, and season 5 is coming right around the corner too.
Well, they keep saying that, and I've heard a lot of it's going to be AI generated, and there's because the actors through COVID and all that, they're like 20 now.
Well, that's the point, though. This is going to be a time skip anyway. So
what I've heard is they used a lot of AI in this final season, but I'm excited. I'm a big
lot of
fan
AI,
Stranger Things.
a lot of AI, a lot of lines of cocaine, and they get through that shit like that, man. They get it. They get through it.
And I wasn't a fan of John Walker in the previous Marvel movies, but he actually grew on me on this movie.
He was really good.
He was funny.
There was I don't know how spoiler do we want to go with Thunderbolts now that it's been out for 2 weeks.
It's been out a while, so
okay. Well, if screw it. If you haven't seen it, turn your radio off.
I guess.
I'm
yeah.
sure you. But I mean, if you don't don't turn your radio off, obviously. But the point is that like the whole movie's been presented as like all of these obscure heroes get together, and one of the obscure heroes dies within the first 5 minutes of the film.
That's what he reminded me of yesterday. I didn't think
yeah.
anyone died, and I remembered, okay, it was in the beginning.
And I mean like that. And it was and wasn't it John Walker that took her out?
And I forgot all about it.
And I was like, wow, that was cool. I mean, I didn't really expect it. It shocked me when it happened in the
Walker
film.
did it or Ghost did it? The clip I saw was
It was Ghost.
Maybe it was Ghost.
Yeah, because she's like,
but anyway, Ghost kills Taskmaster almost immediately because it's Taskmaster, U.S. Agent, Black Widow, and
Bob.
Sentry.
And Bob.
But anyway, there's 4 heroes that have all been sent to kill each other, and he ends up as one. And so they really get rid of Taskmaster right away, which is okay because Taskmaster wasn't that great.
So that's how it started. Is like Valentina or whatever her name is put all of them together, and Black Shadow was saying, or not Black Shadow, Black Widow was saying that she wanted to go, media. She wanted to be the next, Avenger type, and she set them all up into like pretty much blow up, and they all end up after they figure it out, they team up and they evolve as Thunderbolts. And in the story. Another thing, because I didn't read the comics growing up, they make it sound like Thunderbolts was her old soccer team name when she was growing up, and Burdick over here shut me down quickly.
Oh no!
When I brought it
I'm
up, he's
not
like,
happy
"That's not
about
how
that.
it was.
I'm
That's not how the name came from." So
it's
how
not.
did the name come?
So in the comics, they get the name from Thunderbolt Ross because this is a specialized force that is created by Thunderbolt Ross, who is now being played by Harrison Ford. And it's a group that he usually leads while he's Red Hulk of a whole bunch of anti-heroes or villains, more like the Suicide Squad. And does
it's very much like the Suicide Squad.
Yeah, and just does a whole bunch of harebrained stuff that the government can't exactly tell people about. So,
but they changed it for this. I mean, this is just a new and
which is why I mean, and I know MCU does that all the time, so I can accept it.
Yeah.
But it's just really her old soccer team name. That's what we're going with here.
To me, it was some of the funniest jokes in the movie because Red Guardian thought that was the most awesome name in the whole world, and he would say when he introduced the group, he would say we are the East Russian Time Girls Team Thunderbolts. He would say it with such pride, like that's who we are, and it was so funny.
Yeah, he was really good at that.
Oh my lord! Yeah. Again, the father figure type of David Harbour is always a hit for me. But again, I just being a comic book fan and obviously knowing where all of this originates from, when they tweak these things and make it a joke, it does kind of bug me.
I gotta say this, since we're going spoiler on it. 2 of the things that I really, really liked about it, I always enjoy MCU's post-credit scenes, mainly because I think they're just really cool. It's been a nice trend that they have kept going, and it gives hints about things that are coming. Sometimes it doesn't mean anything at all. Sometimes it's just a funny little joke that they throw at you. It's almost like cracking open a box of Cracker Jack and not knowing what the prize is going to be at the end. You know what I mean? Sometimes it's really cool. Sometimes it's horribly disappointing. But that's the way the MCU is. And the 2 post-credit scenes in this film, the first one is simply with David Harbour, which is, and it's not a big spoiler, but the new Avengers have their pictures on Wheaties boxes now that you see.
That's
and
right.
he's trying to be recognized in the grocery store with people as he's holding up the Wheatie box next to his face going, "These are very nutritious. You should start your morning every day with a lovely box. Oh, look at the new Avengers there. Don't they look familiar?"
Awesome.
I mean, that kind of thing, right?
And the lady
I
grabs
laughed.
it.
Yeah, she
and
grabs
puts
it and then she puts it down in another aisle.
But then the second one
was like almost 2 minutes long. And for a post-credit scene in a Marvel film.
And this was just made, right? Like they just had
They
directed
absolutely,
and cut it
yes.
And they did
months ago.
mention after in Nerd Alert said this was the longest wait for a bonus scene in any Marvel movie.
Yeah.
So they had counted it down. It was like 2 minutes and 38 seconds or something like that.
And it's a long scene. They're in the Avengers headquarters. They're being the Avengers. They're talking about being the Avengers. They're talking about how Sam Wilson is suing them over the name Avengers.
Copyrighting
it. It's so funny. And then they get an alert. And something is entering the atmosphere, and it's described as an interdimensional spacecraft that's entering Earth's atmosphere. And they do a quick zoom up on it, and the ship turns over, and you can see the Fantastic Four on the spaceship,
of course,
as they're staring at it. So I'm reinvigorated with the MCU. I loved Daredevil Born Again. I thought that was just incredible, especially Vincent D'Onofrio as Kingpin. I like a lot of the things they're doing out to flesh a lot of this out, and I'm really looking forward to the Fantastic Four. I am beside myself. I have to put, every time I think about it, like right now, I have to put an adult diaper on because I squirt a little bit every time.
8 o'clock yet. But see, just burning space. If you're watching that video, man, I wish I could screenshot that. But no, going back to that, because I know in the trailers, me and my son have been watching movies since he was probably 4 years old. It's a thing that we do, and we always have to get there early because the trailers is the biggest part of the movie for us.
Oh, absolutely.
And you know, he doesn't understand like the Tron trailer, which I'm pumped because I was
Has he seen, not the original, but the one that this is a sequel based off of?
No.
Okay, so he hasn't seen any.
No, so he has no interest on Tron right now. He just said, "Oh, the graphics are cool." I'll grow him up before that movie comes.
I love the Tron series.
Me
I feel
too.
like it's really underrated.
The best thing about the Tron movies I didn't like the second one so much, but the first one when it came out, I was a kid.
Legacy.
But light cycles are just my thing.
Right.
I mean, you want to turn your kid on and tell him, dude, you got to see the light cycles, and that's awesome stuff. Man.
Well, the other one I was going to bring up was not only I want to see the Final Destination. That one looks cool, but those are just the story based. The writing of those are really cool.
Are we? Yeah, but are we really needing another one of these? Like, I'm starting to feel like this series is becoming kind of like Fast and the Furious.
Well, I think a lot of the
Death is an idiot. Number one, Death is a complete idiot in those movies. It's like, well, let's see. I'm going to remove a chain from a piece of lamp that's going to fall into a grill that will then turn over and start a fire that will go down the thing. And I'm thinking, you're Death. Why don't you just open up an artery in their head? I mean, that's all you have to do.
So I was saying, I didn't know, did they remake these or is this the first one, right?
No, this is,
because a lot of kids your age didn't see those Final
Destinations. I grew up with this series. My friends, we all talk about this series and how much it traumatized us, especially when it comes to driving and stuff like that with the second one. But
the logs,
right? The logs and all that stuff.
The logs haunted a lot of people.
Oh my God. But no, I don't know what this is. I don't know if this is a sequel. I don't know if this is a remake or if this is a prequel.
Well, by looking at the trailer, it looked like it's starting over because they say the chick saved a bunch of people and that's why they're chasing him.
But no, from what I understand is this is going to be a new take on it where Grandma and Grandpa were the original people who got out of the death. Grandma had the vision and mom and dad left the place and didn't die like they were supposed to. Then they go off and live their entire life somehow, completely ignoring the original series and how quickly you're supposed to die after this happens. They live like 60 to 70 years, have a full family of multiple kids, which is all of these kids that are being shown in this movie. And apparently now death is coming after the whole family because none of them were supposed to exist, period.
Yeah, that's why
the kids are all the targets because none of them are supposed to be
lifeline
alive,
or whatever it's called.
Because Grandma and Grandpa were supposed to die back in the 50s or whenever.
Well, I'm excited because I've always liked the writing in those stories and what you can never expect. And I believe the original stories that went in order.
It does. That's what I assume is going to happen with this one is maybe the kids die in order after Grandma and Grandpa die because that's what the trailer is. You see Grandpa and how he dies. But I'm assuming that's going to start the spiral in which, parents go and then oldest son, oldest daughter, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah. So there was 2 more trailers I want to bounce off hot before we wrap up because I know he hasn't finished the last season of Invincible. So I don't want to get into that because that could be another 20, 30 minutes. But the one of the 2 is the football movie with Marlon Wayans. Have you seen the trailer for that? So it's another of
Jordan Peele's next
Jordan
horror
Peele's.
movie is a football-based film called Him, if I'm not mistaken.
And it's
where Marlon Wayans is
Well, you had me at Jordan Peele.
Yeah, and it's like Marlon Wayans is this coach that is supposedly like psychologically pushing this player who wants to be the greatest at his position. I'm assuming he's a quarterback.
Yeah, I mean the graphics look like
It made
it
him
goes
look
into
like a
the head
quarterback?
injury type
Yeah.
thing,
And like
it
concussions.
It reminded me of like a 13 Ghosts type movie.
When I get out of here, I'm going to go on YouTube and find it. Yeah.
And the other one is
very crazy.
is the Fantastic Four trailer.
Yeah.
And I don't know.
There's a couple of them, but yeah.
I stopped with Fantastic Four because when they put out all those, I stopped at like the second or third one because it was
Yeah.
just getting old with me. So I want to see, you guys would know more than I would, but how are they going to transfer this into a Marvel with Fantastic Four and how they did with the bonus scene of Thunderbolts? And I mean, is this new Fantastic Four is just hit and reset and starting over?
Well, yeah, I think they're
everybody.
Unlike well, it's interesting because unlike a lot of the references that have been made, especially with the joining of the properties from Fox, which is mostly the X-Men, and them coming into the MCU.
Which I hear they're planning another 10-year span with the X-Men
Right,
now.
right. But yeah, exactly. And they're really planning on building up the X-Men in this. But the Fantastic Four, unlike the X-Men, there have been a lot of references and a lot of bringbacks on, like Kelsey Grammer coming back as the Beast, which has already been confirmed. And,
Really?
and he's already
Yeah,
doing
he's
that.
coming
Yeah, he's
back.
coming back as the Beast. And the other casting they're doing. So, and the fact that Patrick Stewart has come back and all of that. And
Halle Berry?
there's
That's the hope.
talk.
That'd be
There is
awesome.
talk.
She's supposedly in talk of coming back too.
Well, I've heard both of them.
But
I've
the
heard
point
Halle and the
is
girl.
they didn't do this with any of the Fantastic Four films, right? They didn't approach. The only thing that they did was in Deadpool when they brought Johnny Storm back, and that was it. And they did that mainly so they could just have Chris
Evans
on screen just screaming obscenities through the top of his head.
That is
right?
the
I
best
mean, it's just
MCU
one of the most
cutscene.
magic moments in an MCU film. But they
Or when
really
they
haven't
show
done
the
that. So
Fox sign.
this is they're ignoring those other Fantastic Four. At
Awesome.
least to this point, they are, and,
Yeah.
and well, they should, because they're awful films.
Because they would have, if they weren't going to do that, they would have brought the original Mr. Fantastic back instead of John Krasinski.
Yes, I
During
agree with that
Multiverse of
100%. And so the Fantastic Four, they have restarted the property. They didn't like what Fox was doing with it, and because Fox was just really screwing it up, and they're restarting it as a thing. The how it's going to work into the MCU, I'm not sure, because I have big hopes for the Avengers Doomsday movie.
Yes.
That's going to bring. You're not only going to have Fantastic Four joining the MCU, but you're going to have the beginnings of the mutants joining the MCU.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's all very exciting. And how they're going to do that, because it's a very big glaring. If you're a real big comic book fan, which some of us here are,
Yeah.
and have been reading these things for years, the fact that the Fantastic Four are missing from the MCU is a huge hole in the middle of the MCU.
Yeah,
The
along with other
Fantastic
things.
Four were the first family of Marvel. They were it. Characters went to them. I mean, they were one of the first established comics. Characters like Spider-Man and Daredevil and all kinds of places.
I mean, Silver Surfer was always my favorite, and she looks funky in that trailer.
I don't really mind that at all. I'm more concerned about how Galactus is going to look. You know what I mean? That concerns me much more.
That's true, but I'm also worried that they're going to force a love interest between Johnny and the Silver Surfer now. That's what I kind of got from the trailer.
Maybe,
to be honest with you, the chase scene and him like looking at her when he holds onto her board before she kicks him off.
I've seen that kicked around in some memes on board that involve.
And I'm like, dude, you don't need Johnny simping over every woman that comes by the Fantastic
Evidently,
Four.
they say that he's not going to be a womanizer in this version.
Good. I hope
he's
not.
No, exactly.
Well, it wouldn't work in today's society anyway. But
and here's the
I
only
would
other
hate
thing
to
I'll
see
say about the Fantastic Four is this: the one criticism that I keep reading over and over again, and it's just people overreacting, is the fact that the Thing is wearing a sweater. And what is being done is you're being set up. Okay. The MCU loves to set people up, and they're setting you up for the moment where he is going to rip that thing off and yell, "It's clobbering time."
Heck yeah.
And the theater is going to go through the roof, and everybody will forget about this whole sweater thing. But he looks fine. The thing looks as good as anything has looked in any movie, including the Roger Corman piece of crap.
Yeah, but can we not just accept that he wore clothes? Like, there are multiple comic books where he's walking around in more than just the trench coat and a top hat. You know what I mean? Like, he's not just walking around with his shirt off all the time.
No.
He's worn sweaters.
That's what everybody
times.
wanted to see. They want to see the big feet. They want to see the little diaper.
No,
and they want to see him running around.
Totally get it, and you'll get that eventually.
Oh, you sure will.
We got Wolverine's suit finally, but I just don't. I think all the
And now that he's in this, we need several things to happen. Now that we have Fantastic Four, MCU, and the
Deadpools.
No, not Deadpool, but the mutants.
Yes,
we need a great Wolverine versus Hulk fight. We need a great Thing versus Hulk fight.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
And the rivalry between them is good.
So we wrap it up. We only got a little over a minute. So I always text Hop when I'm looking for something to watch, and I'm like, I'm over this, I'm over that. I already finished this. So what are you watching these days, Hop?
You got to watch the new season of Black Mirror on Netflix.
Oh, really?
Terrific.
So
it's
good.
absolutely terrific.
So
There's
good.
one episode is but the rest of them are great. The one with Paul Giamatti, Eulogy,
Is the video game thing part of the season, or is that just a game they put on Netflix? You know what I'm talking about?
The video game
cheaty
one?
game thing that they made.
No, I don't know
eggs.
what you know.
He keeps popping up on my social medias, and it's connected to Black Mirror.
Oh, is it?
I figured it was a trailer for this.
Yeah, but they have some great stories in Black Mirror. You should be watching it. Eulogy is a great story, and so is Common People, which is a tremendous story.
I need to go see the Until Dawn movie too. Still, that looked really, really good. But thank you so much, sir, for your time once again.
I appreciate you guys asking me
on.
on.
Another
It's
show
fun.
is it's a reach, but I started watching Poker Face.
Oh, I've heard that's great.
That's a great show, and season 2, I believe, starts tomorrow.
Natasha Lyonne or whatever.
I love her, man.
Oh boy,
She's awesome.
she's a good one.
But keep it tuned in. Hop, I love you, brother.
Love you guys. Thank you
coming
for
out.
having me in.
And we got Anthony coming up right here after this break on the Early Bird Special, ESPN Bakersfield, 12:30 a.m.
101.1 FM. Welcome back to the Early Bird Special, Hour 2. I'm Chris Burdick. That's Sparky. And we got another special guest in the building. Quick special thank you once again to Michael Hopper for joining us and talking Thunderbolts. But we got to talk some comedy now because our friends at the Well are in the building once again. As Anthony Howdy's in the house, the host of the pregame show.
Pregame show.
Pregame show.
Pregame show.
And
Post-game sports talk.
Yeah, we're pregaming anyway, so who cares? How are you, my friend?
I'm doing fantastic, man. It's great to be here. I'm so excited. Just wonderful to be here. So thanks again.
Not a problem, my friend. Not a problem. So what's going on at the Well? What do you guys got coming up for us this week?
Well, man. So just this week, today, the thing we have to look forward to is the pregame show. It's I'm hosting, right? It's the free comedy open mic that the Thursdays offer. It's a good time. These last couple nights have been a little bit of a doozy. I bombed on Tuesday. So I bombed on Tuesday.
Really?
I tried out some new material, and
it didn't work out very well. Huh?
No, it didn't. And sometimes that's what happens when you write things down in the middle of the night, thinking it's funny in your bedroom alone and not testing it on anyone else.
Yeah.
I learned the hard way, and by the time after those 5 minutes,
I want to ask what you said so bad. I want to ask, but you don't have to. You don't have to. I know you bombed. You probably threw it away.
No, I didn't throw it away. I kept it. Actually, I tried to get. I talked about having a foot fetish.
But yeah, I don't know how many people are gonna get that one.
Ralph.
That's why I was joking.
I know Ralph's over there.
Yeah, Ralph is probably, but oh my Lord, no.
But I don't. That's why. See, even just in this room, I brought it up, and everyone got tense. Listen,
yes, I get it.
Listen,
I get it.
Listen, there's nothing wrong with a couple of hoops, okay, or whatever you got. I don't know, whatever you got. I like. Anyway, moving on.
So I know the Thursday night open mics, the pregame. That's the longest open mic here in town.
Yeah. Who was like a football team that got sold and turned into another team, like the Baltimore Colts turned into.
Yeah, there you go. That's probably the closest thing.
When Daniel Betts hosted, they were the Baltimore Colts. I'm the Indianapolis Colts now. We're bringing in new quarterbacks every year, and we're losing. No, I'm kidding. It's a good time. Yeah, right. That is Boyston's team.
So I know you guys have all sorts of comedians that come up, but I'm going to go back to the bombing. So
yes,
we have to go back to the bombing.
I love talking bombing.
I've heard from other comics and you, bombing is just part of growing as a comedian. So I want to hear it from a comedian. So if say the foot fetish one bombs, do you keep that one and kind of let it grow as a joke, or do you just toss it?
I love feet, so I'm gonna keep talking about it. No, I'm not kidding. No, dude. With something like that, I just looked at my approach. I go back and listen to the set, and I'm like, okay, I probably came on a little strong.
Yeah, delivery is always a big
setup.
The setup,
everything. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna just work on this a little bit, and then when I come back and do it, I'll do it in a different order, so that I'm not starting off with feet. Because listen, if people get to know me, they're like, maybe he doesn't love feet, but if you come out saying I have a foot, people are just gonna be like, whoa.
Yeah,
and they're gonna remember you. Hey, that's the foot
right
guy.
Now. Yeah,
exactly. They're gonna remember you as that foot guy.
That's the foot dude again.
I was just joking. I thought we're having fun here. I felt like I was a little dodged and ridiculed on Tuesday night.
A little bit. I can see why. I'm not gonna lie to you. I can totally see
a little bit, man. And it's like, and I really wanted to make a joke about it, because people always joke about me having foot fetish, and I was trying to joke on that, and it made me sound guilty.
Make it a part of you, man. But now you went too far with it. Okay,
I did. And
it's like we drive by on the way home, and I drive by the foot place, and we treat your feet.
Yeah, exactly.
My son looks at me like, what?
That's an ideal job for you, though, huh?
Absolutely. I'll do it for the old minimum wage.
There you go. $8.50 an hour, right there.
Yeah, baby. That's my target wage. Yeah.
Over the years, I've seen comics, and whether it was an open mic show or it was something that they were just working on, but I've seen, a lot of comedians. I've heard the joke, and then a year later, how it's evolved into something that was even funnier. And not only that, but the delivery, the setup, and how it turned into 2 or 3 other jokes. That's why I asked, because I know you're a comic, you've been doing this for a while, and just seeing, if something bombs, how you take it. I mean, do you just throw it over your shoulder and hit it in the trash can, or do you kind of, okay, well, I saw a little snicker here, a snicker there. Does it kind of just, okay, I'm gonna make this grow into something else, or I mean, I'm sure it's not the first time you bombed, and you've probably seen other jokes that you thought was going to bomb and actually hit.
Right. So I think it all depends. You know, if it's something that I just wrote like casually, like literally like on the drive, or just like, you have a couple drinks and you get the mind going, you're like, okay, all right, this sounds funny.
Right.
And you go and say it out loud. And then for me, I feel myself like almost feel like I sold out. Like I try to think of something that other people would find funny. And if it turns into that, then I kind of toss it because I feel like I'm not being true to myself, know. But if it's something that I really like and I really find funny, like I have a joke about Southern accents and farting right now. And it does okay. It's not the best joke I have, but I'm trying to work on it just because I love Southern accents, and that's not something I bombed on, but I'm not going to toss it because that's not that's something I truly think is funny and I know I can make it work.
Right.
So I think that's the difference between like me. If I toss it, it's because it was just like a throwaway, just something I was trying to think that other people would find funny.
Right.
But
a little inauthentic.
Exactly. But if I keep it and it bombs, it's because I really think it's funny and I'm just trying to get it to work. And it ends up usually working. It just takes time to sit there and deal with that awkwardness of like, oh my God, everyone thinks I suck right now, but I promise like I'm working
See,
on
where
something.
do you go from there though, especially after you bomb and you think
You go drink and get sad.
But like, what's your next joke though? Does it have to be one that is going to be out of the park?
No, because I feel like if you do that, you're just feeling like the pressure of, oh my God, no one's laughing.
Right.
I got to give them something good. And for me, I don't care. Like I literally I did 5 minutes of straight bombing on Tuesday, and usually like I get a good chuckle. I get like a something, I get something out of something,
Mm-hmm.
But I went up early. I didn't prepare enough, and it just looked like I was butt, like it was like and that literally because of that, I went home that night. I wrote for an hour. I wrote the next day, and I came back yesterday and had a decent set because I prepared a little more, So it's like, where do you go after you bomb? You look at it as there's two things. You look at it in that moment of like, do I panic and go to a good joke that people I know here will like?
Mm-hmm.
Or do I just keep trucking and say, I'm working right now. I don't care if no one's laughing. I'm trying to get the words out.
Testing stuff up.
Exactly. And sometimes the sweat starts dripping and I get a little nervous, but it's just like, just keep pushing. Don't resort to the whole like hacky type stuff. People will be like, oh, I'm bombing. You guys don't love me.
Throw a fit.
Exactly. Dude, we're working. It's literally like if I'm in theater, I did theater,
Mm-hmm.
When you're rehearsing, people aren't going and watching you rehearse. They go and see you when you have your makeup and your costume and the lights are on. Comedy open mics is basically like going to someone's open rehearsal for theater and seeing them mess up their lines, walk this way awkwardly, see all these things. You think they suck, but then you go see the final performance. You're like, oh, wow, that was amazing. I didn't know they could do that. And then not that that's what people say when they come see me, but
now I'm just thinking about feet when I see you. So I'm going to go back. So Anthony was a longtime friend of our show before we got onto radio. So I want to go back to how we started in the beginning.
Yes.
Is, how important is it for these open mics for, comedians that haven't, or people that want to be comedians, have never tested, they think they're funny. And how do they sign up if they want to jump into one of these open mic shows?
Okay, listen, if you want to do stand-up comedy, if you're watching this or hearing this or whatever, and you're like, I want to do it, I think I'm funny. I'm that guy that's like roasting everybody in my friend group.
Mm-hmm.
I'm that gal that's like cracking up everybody at wherever, all you have to do is get there early enough before 7:00, sign your name up, and that's it. And that's all you got to do to start stand-up comedy. And I maybe mentioned this the first time we had a conversation. I spent 5 years going and watching open mics, like trying to like get the vibe, like what is this, like how do people do it, like how do people write, like all this stuff. And because of that, I feel like my career is definitely like behind. I feel like I could have started 5 years ago. So that's why I tell people, if you really want to do this, all I want to do is get started, go sign your name up.
Mm-hmm.
Go on stage, tell a personal story that you think is funny, and then that's how you start.
It's all about taking the first step too.
Yes.
I think everybody just psychs themselves out because they don't believe they can actually pull it off, or it's just not attainable for them.
Mm-hmm.
But like once you actually do it the first time and realize, oh wow, I could actually do this, I think it just becomes natural to you, especially if you're meant to do it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Everyone has traits, everyone has characteristics. And if you're meant to do something like that, you'll find out.
Right,
You know,
exactly.
and there's a lot of people that you do see those natural comedians. You know, people are just like always funny, roasting, doing that kind of stuff. And you're like, oh, you should do comedy, you know, and that's usually how people end up at the comedy club. You know, they're usually that person that was making everybody laugh, and now they're here and they realize how difficult it is to make everybody in a room laugh.
Right. No, I mean, like, because that is one of the most difficult things to do, especially when you're trying to make someone laugh.
You can see the try, and that makes you be like, oh.
That's when people really get turned off by it. Exactly.
Dude, that's what trying material is about. Like, you're trying to think of like what the structure is, and it just sounds so fake and organic, but it's like
that's why I think you're onto that when you're talking about like not throwing out jokes that are funny to you, because if it's organic and authentic to you, people will pick up on that.
Exactly.
And actually it's more likely to land, I think. In my opinion.
And 100%, as opposed to someone trying to get everyone on the same page, making a joke about politics or this or that. It's like, but if you see someone having a good time with what they're saying, I feel like it's more like, oh, he's having a good time. I like that.
Like if you regurgitate a joke that you heard from Dane Cook when you were like 10 years old, no one's really going to laugh otherwise, or like outside of it, because they don't connect to it the same.
Exactly. It almost feels like you're reciting it sometimes. Like you can tell when people are faking stuff.
I see a lot of, I mean, I'll start with the comic specials. I mean, I'll catch a couple of them, but usually I know about 10 minutes into it if I'm going to be able to finish this or not.
100%.
Right.
And what I love about meeting you guys over at the Well, and I'll talk strictly about the Well because, you know, this is not only our first full-time comic club, but I've met so many awesome people from the Well. They're local and they're funny as hell. And you wouldn't think this town is full of comics, but going to the Well, and I'm going to go into the big move. So luckily we got to go to the final show at the Well, and we got to go to the first final show. So me and my wife has had a great time going to the Well. And now that you're not in our backyard, you'll be downtown.
Right.
So I'm over at Moneywise, and we're in the middle of moving downtown as well. So I know the uphill battles of all the changing and moving. And a lot of people had asked me, okay, so there's no comedy for a while now or what? We just waiting? So you guys were able to branch off and team up with our boy Matt Spindler and a couple other guys and open up, you know, temporary shows. So I haven't been able to go out to Ava's yet, but what's the difference? Why, you know, how people can still see shows at Ava's? Do they still go to the Well Comedy Club to pick up tickets? I know there's another show we'll get into with Tony Rock that's coming up next weekend. But I mean, have you performed at Ava's a few times, right?
Yeah, I this week I've been there. That's where the
And
open
tonight?
mics. Yeah, and tonight I'll be there tonight. You know, I always said I'd make it to the Fox Theater, but not the side room.
Fox Theater adjacent, but it is there.
Fox Theater's wife.
There you go.
The side
Side
chick
piece.
room. Like, the side piece room, dude.
I mean, what's the difference between? I mean, I know where the Well's going, and I know the venue very well. So, just performing as a comic, you know, the difference between the Well off of White Lane and Ava's.
Okay, so great question, because there's a huge difference. And at the Well Comedy Club, you're there. It's a big room, big open space. You know, you can it's lit enough so that you can see people's faces. You can ask them questions, interact. You know, the VIP table you sat, you know, I know you had
crotch to face.
Exactly, you had a couple experiences there, right? So you know, at the old Well, right, on White Lane, it was just a big open space. It was a rock venue before, a concert venue or a music venue, whatever. So it's just a big space to fill in. And I feel like because I started there, I got so used to, I'm not jarred by big spaces now. I'm just so used to performing for a bunch of people in a big open room, right? Now at Ava's, not a bad thing, right? But it's half the size. It's lit in a way that you're kind of blinded, which is a good thing in my opinion. A lot of comedians are complaining about it, not in a bad way, but they say that they can't see, they can't connect with people, they can't make eye contact, and
you don't see the reaction from the jokes that you're trying to land.
That, but more so this. You guys heard of crowd work comedians, right?
Yeah,
you know, it's like a lot less crowd work going on at the Avas, okay? A lot less, what do you do for a living? A lot less roasting people because you can't see them.
Right.
So when you're bombing at the old well, you can just adjust and start joking about how this person's not laughing. You can see them not laughing. You can make a joke about the bartender making a drink, and you can see, but at Ava's, it's so dark in there, and it's lit in a way that you're the performer and nothing else. You're the sole focus. There's not a lot of distractions. You can't see a lot of faces of anybody else. So the difference is, like, for me, I've been going up with straight like material, not a lot of, because I did do a lot of crowd work. I did do a lot of interacting, but it's been a lot more just people going straight up and just doing material, a lot less of the interacting. You do see it, but definitely a lot. People would just be like talking to people before, but now it's a lot less like of that and a lot more of performing strictly comedy, and it's a smaller room. So it feels like a lot like it more intimate,
So that's, I know the open mic, the pregame shows every Thursday. It's tonight. It's free, correct?
Yes, sir.
So the show starts at 7. If you want to sign up, doors open at 6. You can sign up then.
Yeah.
And I saw the weekday show. Those are the Tuesday shows, right?
Yes, sir.
With Nathaniel Webb, which I believe we're going to have on here in a week or so. He's a funny dude too.
He's my best
You and
friend.
him are one of my favorites here in town. And then I heard a new one. Maybe it's not new. It's new to me, but the midweek.
Oh, it's new. Yes, it is
Okay.
new. It is new. Yeah.
So who is this? Jason?
His name's Jason Budahazy. He's a comedian he's been doing comedy for a minute now. Just moved to like the area a couple years ago, and he took over Wednesdays, and it's a great show because they basically, it's called midweek crisis comedy. Essentially, if you're going through something in your week, if something's rough, your boss is annoying, your girlfriend broke up with you, you got
You
your
have a
car.
feet fetish?
Yeah.
That just got put on blast.
Hey,
on
let's
the
get you.
radio
Let's get you to the open mic, okay?
If you want 15 minutes of him just making fun of your foot fetish, then sure.
Oh, trust me, I get booed out. I would get booed out quick.
You get booted out with the foot.
What's funny is I went to a Christmas party, and I was one of those eccentric kids growing up. I was like 4'2", 4 foot nothing. I was the shortest kid, and I had long curly hair, and it was the time when Ace Ventura came out, and I had an older brother. So we did voices, impersonations of Ace Ventura all day, every day. And I ran into an old friend from high school, and I hadn't talked to her in probably 15 or 20 years. And that's the first thing she said: "You used to crack me up in elementary school. You was a little Ace Ventura." I'm like, "Oh, don't bring that up again, dude." I heard that all night. So no, I've talked about with Betts. He's like, "Dude, try it out." Like, no.
Come on, we could get you into an Ace Ventura shirt, get you a little pet monkey.
If I can,
that'd be great.
If I can keep my girl and my old lady, or my old lady and my son happy, that's fine. But I don't have the cojones to get up on stage.
That's good self-awareness.
Yes.
Let's be like, I'm good with what I don't need all that.
But I've also heard from other comedians, a young lady that went on and didn't bomb for like the first month, and she thought she was the funniest thing. And the first time she bombed, she was about to give up.
Yeah,
she cried. She was just done with it.
Yeah.
So I mean, you've told me over the time we've met, is bombing is a part of it. It's you have to bomb.
Yeah.
And just how you can come in and shake it off. I mean, it takes thick skin to be able to do that.
Yeah.
So I give a lot of props to you comics. I mean, I'd probably be the same way if no one's laughing at this one.
Well, you ever just make a joke around friends or family and no one laughs?
Yeah.
No one gets
you're
it?
like, I thought it was funny.
Imagine that.
I do that all the time.
Exactly. Imagine that times 10.
Yeah.
And you're supposed to be a professional or on stage, and people are like, "This is the guy.
This is what we paid for."
It's like, no. I promise. Like, that's the feeling. It's the feeling.
Well, let's take a quick break real quick, and then we'll come back and put a final push and show people how they can get tickets to these shows, especially tonight. Go out and see Anthony at the pregame show at Ava's.
Yes,
right?
Sir.
No,
Free.
you don't have to get tickets. You show up.
Show up 6. If you want to perform, just show up before 6:50 and you'll perform. And if you want to come watch, just show up before 7. 7 starts and we're good to go.
All right. Well, we'll hear more right after this break. The Early Bird Special, ESPN Bakersfield, 12:30 a.m.
101.1 FM.
so sorry, Mark.
It's okay. Again, it's the healing process. I will get there.
We'll get you headbanging here in a couple of weeks.
One day. One day again, I will be able to.
We'll
Welcome
get
back to
you
the
a
early
neck brace
bird.
just for the show, like Andy Kaufman.
It's a little late for
Right.
that. It's a little late for that now. Welcome back to the early bird special, where again you can watch us on YouTube and see everybody bob around like Muppets. Some metal music. We got our boy Anthony in here from the Well. One last time, man, tell them about the pregame show, where they can go and actually get into this, because it's a lot of fun. I think everybody here in the community needs to come out and actually check you guys out a little bit more.
Thursday nights are the best. I'm telling you, and I'm not saying that because I'm hosting. If you ask any comedian in town what the best open mic to go is, they're going to say Thursday. All right. Thursday's the pregame show. Tonight it's going to be at Ava's. If you're looking at the Fox Theater, if you're looking at the building from the corner, it's just on the right side of the building. Go in there, and we got drinks in there, free comedy from 7 to 9. Again, if you want to sign up and perform, just show up before 6:50, throw your name in a bucket, and you're on stage performing. Okay. And if you want to come watch, just come by. The show starts at 7. Come grab a drink. And again, maybe people aren't the most polished up there, but part of the allure of an open mic is seeing people try and work things out, and that awkwardness, and that is it's
the best part.
Exactly. You can't get. I just talked about bombing about foot fetishes. Like, you're not going to get that at the Maya
No.
Cinema.
No, you're gonna get raw comedy, and that's what you want.
Exactly.
And
Raw, unfiltered. Yeah.
I mean, I've seen a lot of these comics grow from it.
True.
It's awesome, dude.
And it's a lot of fun to see. I mean, we bring up Boytson on this show all the time. I've known Boytson for years, and he is still to this day one of the funniest people I've ever met. And for this guy to be a teacher baffles me every day of the week.
Yeah.
But it's just really cool to see, like you said, you get to see these guys grow and get better and better and better every time, and it's a delight to see. You guys really take this seriously, and I appreciate that a lot.
No, heck yeah, dude. A lot of people say like they have different reasons for comedy, but no matter what, it's just a blessing to be able to perform, and it's great. So I love it.
But obviously, we are a sports show, so we have to talk a little sports with you. And you were telling us you're a Packer fan.
I am. Cheesehead.
Cheesehead over here. So what do you think about your draft picks? Are you happy with the receivers? And also, do you think Romeo Doubs is going to get traded like everybody keeps saying?
I think he should go for sure.
Really?
Yeah, I think he should go. But I liked him. But then this last year when he like quit on the team and like he went on like a sabbatical because he was depressed, I'm like, listen, bro, I did that for Target in 2015, but you can't do that for the Packers in 2023. Like you can't. But and our receivers have been so unreliable. They're dropping passes. They were 4th in top drop passes last year, and they brought in 2 guys that also drop passes, but I guess they're faster. I don't know. But it was cool because as a Packers fan, they waited until Aaron Rodgers left to draft a wide receiver.
Naturally.
Exactly, which is ridiculous. And now we have his name's Golden or something from Texas. I don't know too much about college. I know that general. I don't know. I think he's good.
They're all good if they're in the NFL. But
I mean, that's what I looked at. If you're a first rounder in the NFL, you at least better produce for my team as a starter, at the very, very least.
Yeah, but I think about first rounders like Kadarius Toney, right? And I'm like, oh, hold on a second.
Well, that's what we've been talking about the last couple
Drake
of
London
weeks. Is Drake? I love Drake. I'm a Falcons fan. I will take Drake London 20 out of 20 times. No, I just think it's interesting because these first round picks, especially lately at certain positions, have been duds.
Yeah,
and you really get more of the stars or starters from the 2nd, 3rd, 4th rounders.
Yeah. I feel like with the Packers, I mean, because that's where my focus is, but I feel like we usually draft good linemen or good corners like later in the rounds, but our first rounds are all,
I mean, shoot.
Yeah, we had Elton Jenkins.
How you guys let him go, and is he still a free agent? Is Bakhtari still a free agent?
Yeah, he's a free agent, but his left knee's medically retired. I think he's got like
walking peg legging.
Yeah, dude, that poor guy.
Is he just waiting for where Aaron's going too?
Because
those two are best buds.
So you brought up Aaron. You think he ends up in Pittsburgh? You think he retires?
I feel like he's going to end up in Pittsburgh, and it's going to be lackluster as heck.
Yep.
And
there's a lot of people that feel that way right now.
100%. I'm sure, like, if you're a Steelers fan, you're not excited. And
I don't know many that are, though, with or without him. Let's be fair.
I talked to my boss over at Moneywise. He's a Steelers fan. He was like, dude, just let me know. If it happens, I'm retiring football this year.
Really?
I don't want to watch it.
No, we had people in our DMs yesterday after the Pickens trade saying, I'm going to go cry now. Like, They are not happy with what's going on in Pittsburgh.
My Cowboys friends are very happy.
Oh, I'm sure they are.
They're very.
And what even made it better is, he was asking for $30 million with Pittsburgh, and now that he's in Dallas, he's like, no, I'll play off $3.5 million.
Yeah,
I'll prove it. I'll show you
No,
guys
he came
what I'm
out
worth.
yesterday and said it was more about the quarterback situation.
Yep.
It wasn't
Really?
about the money or wanting to be QB1. He was very worried that Mason Rudolph was going to be his quarterback.
No way.
And nobody's talked to DK Metcalf because that guy's like,
okay, but let's
what?
be honest. DK has not exactly had great quarterbacks throwing to him his entire career.
Yeah, who do you have? Russell Wilson. Who do you have
Drew
last
Lock.
year? Yeah, Drew
I
Lock.
don't even think
yeah.
he ever had Russ. Was Russ ever throwing him the ball?
I believe so.
Yeah, he
Was
had
the
to
last
have.
couple
yeah.
of years? Okay.
I feel like he started like he got.
I
dra-
know he
yeah.
had Drew Lock. You know he had Geno.
Oh yeah, Geno. Right,
Good old
right.
Geno.
But regardless, I mean, he hasn't exactly had peak quarterback play anywhere he's played.
And it's because he's like built like Megatron, right? Like he's like,
He is.
dude. It's like,
He's a
dude,
big dude.
this dude should be like leading the league. He should be running
know what-
over dudes.
You
like,
know what we were robbed of, though? We were robbed of what could have been the greatest teammate on teammate sideline brawl during a game ever. Because him and George Pickens fighting each other
that'd
would
been
have been
hilarious.
incredible.
Dude, all the fight.
They could have had the helmets on and still made contact with each other's faces. Like, it would have been crazy.
Yeah, someone would have got stabbed.
You
I
want to
think.
talk about Megatron and Optimus Prime? Like, good Lord.
That'd have been hilarious. But no, I thought for sure when Rodgers left New York, I thought for sure he's going to Minnesota. He's going to follow the Favre steps.
I feel like that is the last part of the ritual sacrifice, and then the world explodes and like angels fly. And, like,
Dude, and honestly, all of the talk before all of it happening too, and like the hatred that everybody thought that Aaron had for Brett and all the waiting he had to do for him, it would have been ironic as heck to see him follow exactly the same
and then he
footsteps.
goes and screws over like another state's like federal like
The
state's
only
funds
thing
or
he
something.
didn't do was fake 2 retirements to get out of his
Right,
teams.
right.
Because that's how he got out of Green Bay and that's how he got out of New York.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, at this point, that's basically where we're at with football. I mean, right? I mean, oh, actually, no, I wanted to talk to you about this because I thought this was funny. So we haven't gotten to this on the show yet, but I wanted to bounce it off you too, Sparky.
Uh-oh.
A quarterback that was supposed to go into the draft this year that everybody's been watching in the NCAA level for 7 years, Cam Rising of Utah, has actually announced yesterday that he is medically retiring due to a hand injury that he got during a Baylor game, I believe, years ago. This is a 7-year career as a starting quarterback in the NCAA just to end it off of a medical injury. What are the two of your first thoughts before I get into
I feel like, listen, if you're gonna retire medically, it needs to be for something in your brain, like you're physically unable to walk, but your hand, dog. Your hand.
I mean, if you're a quarterback, was it his throwing hand?
I don't know. I need to find out if it's the throwing
There's
hand or the
robotic
passing
hands
hand.
out there. Put a
Right?
wrist brace on, dude.
I mean,
Get
we-
out there.
We got linebackers playing with one leg or one arm. So I'm like, come on.
Yeah, Shaquem Griffin or whatever.
Yeah.
My bigger question here is you were a starting quarterback in the NCAA level for 6-7 years and you didn't go into the pros yet? I think the medical clearance is more of him saying, I don't know if I can hang in the pros. So I'm going to hang it up right now before anybody makes me feel any different.
I know he went back to his high school and is now the offensive coordinator. So
for
something is
him.
looking up.
Hey, that's a good gig.
That's a dang good gig.
For a PE teacher.
Yeah.
Somebody that played in a high level for 7 years.
Dude, I know we're joking on the guy, and it does suck that he has to medically stop playing football, but 7 years in the NCAA level.
Like you were a super senior for like in college. Like what? Like
You want to talk about a guy who exploited the COVID rules and still didn't get to the pros, dog. Like, why did you play 7 years if you weren't going to go to the pros?
I went to college for 7 years, but I was just stealing the FAFSA money. I don't know what this guy's doing.
I've seen basketball players leave with medical conditions, get drafted into the NBA, and then say, "Oh yeah, I can't play. Sorry."
Yep.
Like, at least do that. At least prove to everybody you can get drafted first.
But I think that's the issue. He just probably maybe felt like he wasn't going to, right?
But I mean, with a weak draft that we had this last year at
Right.
quarterback, you really think this guy wasn't going to get drafted over Tyler Sow, whatever the hell the guy's name is that's going to New Orleans?
Or Shador.
Yeah, or
right?
Shador, who was being blackballed by the league. Like, that actually would have been a hell of a statement if Cam Rising got drafted before Shador Sanders.
Yeah.
And then retired.
Oh my. Yeah, and then retired. Good Lord.
Ouch. But no, we appreciate it, Anthony. Check him out. It's the pregame show tonight and every Thursday. We'll talk to you real soon. I appreciate you coming out this early.
Appreciate you
And,
guys. Thank you so much.
We'll hear more from you. We'll definitely. I'll be getting a hold of you before the next Thursday show, and we'll line up something so you can be a regular, man. We miss you. We appreciate your time, and we've got a couple miscellaneous stories that we could wrap up the show with right here on the Early Bird Special, ESPN Bakersfield, 12:30 a.m.
101.1 FM. Welcome back to the Early Bird Special. I'm Chris Burdick. That's Sparky. We got some miscellaneous stories to get to before we get out of here today. Starting with another one. Another one, Sparky. Why does this continue to happen? And
I was starting to think the same thing.
why? And I mean, again, let's former coach and longtime Laker player Byron Scott has been accused of a sexual assault And this apparently happened back in 1987 when he was 26 years old. And for lack of a better term, felt up a 15-year-old in a janitor's closet while they were shooting a
team event type
team
thing. Yep.
movie video, like those old, like, hey, do this to shoot and all that type of stuff for kids.
Campbell High School in LA.
Why does this continue to happen? Why? Like,
I mean, it was the 80s.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot in not only just sports, but the actors, the actresses that popped up over the last decade or so from that time period. I mean, is that just something that nobody needed a card if you looked 18? I mean, that's what his attorney said. He said he did not say he did not deny it.
No, he didn't.
And he said that he was under the impression she was over 18.
I don't care.
What do you think? You're filling up somebody at a high school.
Exactly.
I mean, it's probably the wrong place, wrong time.
I don't understand why. Like, look, I know this is back in the 80s, and I'm sure this wasn't as prevalent back then. So he was probably just thinking, this is just something that I got to get used to as a player.
I'm Byron.
Yeah.
I'm an athlete. I'm a famous person.
But dude, like you just said, you were in a high school. What did you expect? Where do you think this girl came from? Like, you really think an 18, 19-year-old girl that was over the age just happened to find out you and the Lakers were going to be at this school and just walked down there to get at you? Really? You really that makes more sense than a 16-year-old who knew that you guys were coming to her school just happened to be in the area? Come on. Like, that's
in
so
a janitor's
dumb.
closet. I mean, it's already like raise your eyebrows already at that.
You said it yourself. I mean, there's been Saved by the Bell episodes about this kind of stuff. Come on. Like, it's
sick.
And I know art imitates reality and all of that type of stuff. And honestly, from everything we've learned from 90s and 80s television, that's all they were doing was silently telling us that this was happening behind the scenes.
And who knew that it was happening so often and everywhere?
Yeah.
Not only in Hollywood, but I'm sure, if he wasn't Byron Scott, we wouldn't be hearing about it. But
No.
I mean, I watched a stupid show on the weekend. We were just killing time and it was on in the background, but there's a show, I believe it's on Peacock or Max, but it goes into behind the scenes of these Hollywood stories. And one of them was the dad from an old TV show. I believe it was from where Jessica Biel came from. I forget what the name of the show was.
Oh yeah.
But the dad that played in there, he was like the wholesome dad that he played in every role. He was, the good Christian father. I believe in the show he played a pastor dad, and the whole time he'd 15 years of sexually assaulting young women.
Yeah.
So I'm like, dude, like I can see they're actors, so you could see the difference of the real person and the actors. But I mean, this is popping up almost weekly now.
And you know what? It just a little sidebar on your actor comments. This is why I've always heard and said never date an athlete or an actor long term. Because you never know, with actors at least, you never know if it's actually them or if they're putting on a facade for you. That makes sense.
Well,
Actors
thank you.
are so
A
used
listener texted and said it was Stephen Collins. It was the dad from 7-7.
There you go. Okay, yeah. So like these people wear masks professionally. They literally are paid to fool you into believing they're somebody else. So actors, athletes, musicians, I don't really need to go into any more than that, but that's
I
why.
mean, the whole we could get. We're not going to.
Yeah,
get
we're not
into it,
gonna
but
get
we
into it,
can. But I mean, the Puff Daddy, the
right, Shannon Sharp
which
situation
we
right
didn't
now.
talk about for a reason.
Yeah.
But I mean, this is the first time I've seen somebody not come out and deny it immediately.
Well, I mean, again, this was filed back in 2022. It has since been appealed, I believe. And honestly, I think the Shannon Sharp thing had something to do with it, especially the amount of money that the woman got or was supposed to get from the Shannon Sharp situation. I think that had a lot to do with it. But this is bad. Like, I don't understand what he possibly could have been thinking at the time. Obviously, I wasn't even a speckle in my father's eye at the time. But it just goes to show that in no way, shape, or form whatsoever are we saying that the girl's at fault or anything for this, but everybody in this situation, especially the athletes, you got to be smarter than this.
You would think.
You got to be smarter. Like, I know there was that stereotype, of course, that we all love to make fun of, that these players are always walking around with their agents are telling them what to do and doing all that type of stuff. In this kind of situation, you kind of need it, because some of these guys were just acting a fool back in the day. They were just doing whatever they wanted or just felt untouchable because they were in the league, and rightfully so, because you were getting paid millions upon millions of dollars. And as we said yesterday and the day before, when you're that young getting paid that much money, you feel invincible. You feel like no one will be able to touch you. And unfortunately, this is another good lesson to show everybody it will come back to bite you in the butt eventually. Let's just not do it.
Yeah, and there was a law that after a certain amount of years you couldn't, but they've recently changed that, especially in the state of California, when it comes with, you know, sexually assaulting and minors.
Because that's what I believe one of our hosts on our sister station had brought up, is like, well, there's statutes of limitations. I do not believe there
Not
are.
anymore.
Not on these cases.
And not in California.
No. And like in certain situations, that's a good thing.
But I believe so. If it's a minor, there is no timetable.
Oh yeah, no. With the minor specifically, there is no timetable.
So I mean, it's a sad story. I hope she gets what is deserved, and you know that's got to be heavy. I mean, this is 87. This is 2025. So I'm hoping she's only asking for 25 grand, which I mean, we just talked about.
She was asking for.
She was talking a story yesterday where the guy is suing the NFL for 100 grand just because Shedeur Sanders slid in a draft. So I mean,
again, lawsuits. We could go back and forth on a lot of these. Obviously, you got the Red Bull guy who sued because it didn't give him wings. America is known for suing for no reason, but at the same time, these types of situations are why you need to bring these you need to levy these limitations.
But we'll wrap up this and get into some positive news. We'll wrap up the show and thank our guests. The show went by quick today, and we've got an even busier show tomorrow. So keep it tuned in. The Early Bird Special, ESPN Bakersfield, 12:30 a.m.
101.1 FM. This is the Early Bird Special final segment of the day. Before we get out of here and pass it off to the great Rich Eisen.
Big shout out to Hop. He was in prime form. I love that kid.
He's so great. I miss him around here, to be honest with you sometimes.
I just like him in his form because
Yes.
I can talk movies with him for hours, and we always have a good time. And Anthony, he's one of our favorites. He's gone with the Early Bird Special for a while. And if you haven't seen the weekday or the pregame show, I'm always going to jack that name up.
Well,
the
there's so many. The pregame show, the postgame show. You got the pre-week show, the post-week show, the half a week show.
But I love Anthony's, his heart and passion into the culture of comedy. I mean, I could talk to him about comedians, and just to go out here and start out with 2 days after bombing about feet. I mean, he's just a good guy. And trust me, going to these open mic shows, just as a comic fan, and I know a lot of people have asked me, is it always like raw, dirty comedy? No, it's not.
No, it's family friendly a lot of the time, actually. I mean, our guy Tyson literally does stepdad comedy. Or at least that's what I like to call it. He has jokes about his kids. Like it's never really like that dirty. Like I know
still haven't seen Tyson.
I think that's what comedy kind of gets a bad rap for, is everybody kind of assumes that it's always vulgar and always just like cussing and stuff, because you see people like Bert Kreischer or like some of these more famous guys, throw the F word around and stuff like that.
Or people that are scared that they're gonna get ripped on.
Or ripped on. And honestly, go to Ava's now, because obviously that's not going to be a problem. Yeah, as he just told us, they can't rip on you anymore. So now is the perfect opportunity if you're afraid of that. And honestly, if that is a problem to you and you don't want to be called on like that,
don't sit in the front.
Let them know that. They'll put you towards the back.
Yeah.
They're okay with that. Like, they understand not everybody wants to be made fun of. So it's not like they're just going to force you to sit in the front and say, haha, you're going to get called out by the comedian.
Get ripped out.
Like, no, it's usually not how it works.
But no, I was going to bounce this story off you before we wrapped up the show, because we did talk about Carter yesterday, not getting Lawrence Taylor's number,
and
he didn't get Phil Simms' number,
and you're not going to get that one either.
And in Atlanta, Jalen Walker will wear number 11 for Atlanta. They announced it yesterday, and some Falcons fans aren't too happy with it because of Julio.
Look, I'm not crazy about it. I'm not. However, Julio's not retired yet. Or I'm sorry, his number's not retired yet. He just retired this year. Now, will he continue to wear number 11 the rest of his career? No. More than likely not. He maybe gets a year with it before Atlanta says, hey, wrap this up. We're retiring probably 2, 11, 84, and a handful of other numbers. I would assume Jake Matthews, more than likely, when he's done too, will get his retired because of just the longevity of being our left tackle. But
he's the 11th overall pick.
Yeah.
He won number 11 at Georgia. So I mean, the number means something for him too. So it wasn't just, hey, I want to wear number 11.
No, and I'm sure, knowing the organization, especially how much heat they're under right now because of the prank phone call to Shedeur, I am more than likely sure that they called Julio and made sure this was okay. Now, if the story comes out today that says Julio had no idea and he's absolutely livid about it, yeah, there's a problem. But if Julio said it was okay, the organization says it's okay, the number's not technically retired yet. It will be soon, I promise you. But I don't think it's that big of a deal. It's not like asking for Lawrence Taylor's number. Like, as much as I love Julio Jones, and he'll go down as probably a top 10 wide receiver, not necessarily of all time, but like definitely in this generation.
I know he's eligible for the Hall of Fame in 2029.
You think he's a first ballot?
I don't know, man, because
it's hard to be a first ballot.
I'm still shocked that Ricky Williams isn't in there.
And he never won a ring, so that's going to be a dock against him. I don't think he gets in first ballot. As much as I love Julio, and that may be, absolute blasphemy for me to say as a Falcons fan, and other Falcons fans are probably cursing me out on YouTube right now, but it's really hard to be a first ballot Hall of Famer.
Yeah, and especially really how his career ended.
Right.
Bouncing around with a couple other teams that kind of tarnishes players that, had a long span with the team and then goes off.
He never really played for a lot of them. Like, he played certain games, but he never had a full season with the Eagles. He never had a full season with the Titans. Like, It's really hard to justify putting him in as a first ballot. Will he be in the Hall of Fame? Absolutely.
Yeah.
100%. I think it takes maybe 1 or 2 votes to get him in, though. It's Julio Jones. But until that happens, I don't think anybody could really gripe in Atlanta about number 11 being used. Because, again, it's not like it's Lawrence Taylor's number. That's the one thing that baffled me.
That he even asked.
I know I'm young. I get it. Like, I know probably our listeners make fun of me on a constant basis saying, oh, this young guy doesn't understand fully just yet. I get it. But at least I know I don't ask for Lawrence Taylor's number. You don't walk up to the Dodger organization and say, I want Vince Scully's job. No. No.
Yeah, it's like going to Frisco and asking for Montana or
crazy?
Jerry Rice.
Like the chutzpah. I know I've said this a million times, especially since the draft, but the chutzpah on some of these younger people. And
one thing I
feel
do
so
like
old saying that
about franchises like the Raiders is they don't retire any of them.
Yeah.
Because then they wouldn't have any numbers to wear. And that's a good, cool way to look at it.
And that's true too. I feel like the names should be retired more than the numbers should. But in certain situations, like your LTs, your Joe Montanas, Tom Brady's, you have to retire the number. TB12, when it's a part of your brand, it has to be retired. Because it's just like it goes one with the other. That's why, I mean, Lamar was just fighting with Dale Earnhardt Jr. for the number he has. Because the two of them, obviously, both of their brands are based around the number 8. So how do you decide who actually needs it more or whose brand like requires it or requires more from it, I guess is the best way to put it. It's just really difficult to say. And it's a number. Because like they
just a number.
Eventually we're going to be that's the fear I think of the Raiders is eventually you're going to have linemen wearing 777
triple digit numbers. Yeah.
Like that's going to be weird. Or we go to letters and you get the X's and the Q's and stuff like that. And just for fun, you know what I mean? But it's a weird look when you have to force this upon some of these guys. And don't blame the players either in most of the situations. Blame Abdul Carter. That was just dumb.
That one
was dumb.
A reach.
But in certain situations, like I don't think Walker really was trying to hurt anybody's legacy by taking number 11. It's like you said, his pick, what he wore at Georgia, like it just all lined up perfectly. It really, really did. And then real quick before we get out of here, quick congratulations to Cubs shortstop Dansby Swanson and his wife Mallory of the U.S. Women's National Soccer Team who are welcoming another baby. That's really cool. I enjoy that a lot. And I love seeing sports couples, athlete couples like this, because that just means some of the athletes we're going to have in the future are going to be monsters.
And join us tomorrow live from 7 to 9. We got a jam-packed show. We'll welcome back local comedian Chris Flail. Check him out on Instagram, Chris Flail Comedy. He is a funny dude, and he is clean.
He's a family-friendly
for all you comic fans.
Look at that. There's somebody in Bakersfield
and
you can go check out.
We'll have Bolt Brady making you money for the weekend.
Absolutely. Thank you guys for joining us once again. You've been listening to the Early Bird Special. We got to get out of the way for the great Rich Eisen. Sparky, let's get out of here.